like to call the meeting to order. I'd like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 land and the homeland of the Dakota and Métis Nation. Can I get approval of agenda, please? Councillor Kilmer,
I'll move that, thank you.
thank you. And declaration of conflict of interest, if you had any, you know what to do. Oh, motion. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. Sorry about that. Open the vote. Six. Councillor Lennox Epp,
In favor.
thank you. Close and accept.
Did you vote 8? Yeah. Okay, so then just go back home. Not sure why it's not.
Okay. Adoption of the minutes. Councillor Head,
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll move this motion, yeah.
thank you. I'll open the vote. Councillor Lennox Epp,
In favor.
thank you. Close, accept. Delegations. A request for zoning bylaw exemption, a verbal presentation from Jared Dreves? All right. Welcome. I'll just, there you are.
Perfect, thank you. Deputy Mayor, Mayor, councillors, board members, and guests. My name is Jared Devers. I live in, zoning CR1, which is country residential. I live at 140 Birch Lane, which is at the very outskirts of town, about 8 kilometers past the bridge on the way to the mill. And I was hoping that I could get an exemption to a bylaw for the sheds and garages. Currently, it states that garages and sheds cannot be in front of the yard except for garages attached to the principal building. So my house is set back about 100 meters, according to Google Maps, from the Birch Lane Grid Road. And I've got basically where I want to build the shed, it's full of trees in the area. I've got a clearing in front of my house, which would be 82 meters behind the grid road, which is 266 feet back from basically where my land starts at city property. I guess the city road. The plan's to build a 10 by 10 shed there, concrete blocks with a skid foundation on it, board and batten style, 7 feet high with a gambrel style roof. It'll be shingled, painted to match my house. Because the trees are shielding it pretty much from anybody's view, nobody should be able to see it summer or winter. I have approached my only neighbor who is south of me, Jay Sumners, and he is totally fine with me building it as well. That's the quick skinny of it.
Great, thank you. Any questions?
And I have pictures or anything else brought with me. I think I have a picture on the email I sent you guys as well.
Yeah, we have that. Okay, any questions? Move the motion. Councillor Edwards,
I thank you, Madam Chair. I do have questions,
for
just
administration.
not for our speaker
Okay,
tonight.
sure.
So my question is, I don't think I have to move the motion first. We can have discussion prior, correct?
It's just a question, yeah.
Just a question. So my question is, would the RM approve this? In
Director of Planning?
surrounding RMs, yeah.
Oh. There we go.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Councillor Edwards, for the question. I don't know the RM's protocols in front of me. What I, off the top of my head, rather, I know they do have specific regulations when it comes to accessory buildings, where they can be located and all those types of things. I presume something, you know, as small as 100 square feet, so 10 by 10, would probably be approved. And actually, as I review this application here, I think this was brought up very briefly with our staff, and we've requested a little bit more information. But for a 10 by 10 building, I don't believe an exemption will actually be required. I think we can help the applicant to make sure that this is approved with full compliance with our zoning bylaw. So I see no real issues here.
Yeah, and I'm happy to hear that. I think we need to move forward with some of these and make it easy on our people to live within our city boundaries. It's important. We want people to live in our country residential and our community. So is there a need right now to send it back to the Planning and Development Services Department, or will it come back for approval, or can we just change the motion right now and you're already saying there isn't any?
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. To expedite the process, I would suggest, to your point, eliminate the for review and report wording. Just refer it to me, and I think that's the quickest way to get this approved for the applicant today.
Yeah, for approval, right? Not for review and report.
That works, yeah.
For approval.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna do is move the motion, amend the motion for approval.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Any questions from anyone
Thank you.
else?
Tara Lennox Zepp.
Just 1 second. We have the mayor here first. Mayor Dion?
Well, thank you, Councillor Edwards. That's exactly the motion I was going to make. I've driven by the property. You can hardly see his house. You're not going to see the shed. And it's on an acreage. So the rules that we make, they weren't for acreages. So I'm glad you made that motion, because that's what I was going to do, was make it for an approval and save time, because then he can get it built this summer. So thank you for that, and I'll be supporting the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Lennox Zepp?
Thank you. I wanted to thank the applicant for bringing the issue here to us, and I really want to thank administration and the Department of Planning that it sounds like they will be able to approve this through their processes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. And just use that one, right? I'll open the vote. Councillor Zepp?
In favor.
Thank you. We'll close and accept. There we are. Unanimous vote. Okay, we'll go to 5.2, concerns regarding allowing chickens in the city, not the town, but the city. A verbal presentation from Lance and Jen McDougall. Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Good day, board members. My name is Lance McDougald. My wife and I would like to present some information about chickens. Now, we have all heard of why the chicken crossed the road, but here's some information that is more beneficial, not only to the pocketbook, but also to the ecosystem. Chickens are omnivores. They can reduce the need to spray harmful pesticides because these little guys enjoy chasing down plant-destroying insects like grasshoppers, grubs, etc. Any of those pests that may destroy your garden or your prize-winning flower garden. In a very short time, also there are certain chickens that will eat those nasty little ticks that attach themselves to your kids and animals. So while they are digging and chasing the bugs in the ground, they're also providing aeration to your lawn, chewing up all the dead lawn and organs. And keep in mind, they love table scraps. Scraps that instead end up at city landfill would be converted to fresh, healthy eggs, and I'm sure you'll have all eaten homegrown chickens. Is there any better chicken? Chickens are also a natural fertilizer producer, which would help your lawn and gardens to grow healthier and stronger. Chickens that are able to roam are called free range. The free range chickens produce healthier free eggs full of vitamins and help reduce cholesterol. So not only are they helping maintain a healthy pesticide-free lawn and garden, but they're also feeding you and your family. They're saving you some money in the long run. Not only are you getting eggs, but you're also getting a chicken to eat. And let's not forget the price of chicken and eggs. You should be able to save a few bucks by producing your own. Several cities in Canada have already passed a bylaw allowing chickens in backyard. For an example, the bylaws allow a certain amount of chickens and no roosters, also not allowing to butcher the chickens in town. On the above stated notes, I'm going to end this presentation. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for your time and consideration. There are some links provided below that will go into further details and the pros of being able to have chickens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions for the guest? Mayor Dion?
So you're not gonna have them in a pen. You said they were gonna roam free in your backyard and do the garden and lawn. How do you keep them in your backyard?
Well, you would have pens for them, but you can allow them through the day to free roam around as they wish, but you can lock them up at night to stop any unwanted rodents and animals from eating them, attacking them.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. Councillor Kilmer?
So in some of the research that you've done, in the cities that have passed the bylaw, is there a limit to the number of chickens that would be allowed in a yard?
There
In the
was a
backyard?
number of, there's 6 that St. Albert did allow. There is no roosters, as I mentioned, and
Okay. And I heard you answer the mayor's question about free range, but you mean free range within your fenced boundary of
yes.
your yard?
Yes, that's correct.
So it would be a fenced, and then there's,
You'd have a chicken.
excuse my, I don't, there's a chicken coop that allows that's winterized for them.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Lennox Epp, did you have anything? Councillor Edwards?
I don't have a question for our guests, so I'll wait just
Okay.
to see. Yeah.
Did we lose her? Okay. All right. Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. Councillor Edwards, did you want to move anything?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The previous council saw this twice, this request twice, and it was rejected twice previously, but I don't even think it was rejected for a free range. It was, they had to be in a chicken coop, I believe. Can you remind us why it was rejected previously? This would be the Director of Planning.
Director of Planning.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Edwards, for the question. Yeah, 2017, chickens were a discussion point in these council chambers. There was a lot of information brought forward. Ultimately, a lot of comments, a lot of people, well, not a lot, a handful of people were inquiring about the allowance for chickens. And at that time, we presented the pros and cons. There are examples where it's done well, but with allowing for chickens or other types of animals, there are some considerations. So the attraction of rodents, if not done properly, it can equate to smells and disruptions in the neighborhood. So ultimately, that information was brought to City Council for approval or for consideration, and City Council of the day chose not to move ahead with amending our responsible pet ownership bylaw, which is the main bylaw that controls the allowance of different types of animals. But at that stage, to your point, what was being presented was more allowing chickens in hens and not as much free range, but we did bring a lot of information to council for consideration.
Yeah, and that's my concern right now, is I remember the discussion. I know you've already done lots of this research, so I don't necessarily see a rationale behind moving it towards the planning and development services. I have concerns with allowing this to occur in our city at this time. Number one, our bylaw is extremely busy. Our bylaw officers are all over the place. I think this will bring on a whole new set of concerns for the city. Right now, we have a bylaw that says our garbage bins, for example, need to be brought in to your yards. And our garbage bins are nowhere near some people's yards. They're filling our alleys. So the simplest of bylaws, people are not following. And we can't keep up to those. And so I do have concerns with moving forward. I'm not totally against it in the future, I guess. I think we could have a look at it, but I just don't see our city being ready for this. And I think the parameters would be too difficult to set. And so at this time, I'm not willing to support it moving forward.
Thank you.
Tara Lennox up for the queue, please.
Mayor Dion?
I'm going to change the motion and to just receive and file and not approve. I extensively talked to my neighbors, okay, who said, you know, how many times do you guys have to say no? We do allow chickens in the city, but you got to be on an acreage. And I have friends that on acreage have a couple goats. I have one that has a couple horses. And they decided when they got into livestock, they were going to go to an acreage. And my concern is none of my neighbors want it. So if 4 doors down, the neighbor wants chickens, are they going to have to get our permission? And I think that's important. I want a miniature donkey, but I found an acreage that's going to keep it for me. I'm not going to put it in my backyard. And so I believe there's a place for it. We have a skunk issue in our city as it is. And everyone that I talk to, a lady that raises chickens, and she said skunks is her #1 problem, followed by foxes, then followed by coyotes. And then she said 1 year she lost them all because a weasel or something got in and killed them all. So I do believe there's a place for chickens, but I believe that's an acreage, and I don't believe it should be in our city. We have enough issues with other things in our things not to dwell on this, and that's why I'm not going to send it for a report, strictly because we might as well decide now what we want to do. Then if we decide, if my motion loses, then we'll send it for a report and get rules. But we were down there twice already, and both times we denied the request, except for where they're zoned on acreages. So that's my comments for now.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. Councillor Grotnick?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I'm not totally opposed to it. However, it comes at a cost. And as Councillor Edwards mentioned, you know, enforcement and with anything, there's enforcement. And we don't have the staff right now to handle enforcement of our bylaws. And if we add another level to this, we're going to have to add staff. So if we want to receive as information file or refer to budget deliberations, because there is a cost associated with that, then maybe next fall when we start debating and deliberating budget, we'll have to look at what is the extra cost to allow chickens in the community, and can we afford that extra cost? And so that's where I am sitting, more so on that, not opposed to it, but just the cost to enforce for the city. And do we have the money to do that? Right now, we can't add an extra cost or an extra bylaw officer to implement something like this. And so I think at budget time would be the time to bring this up, because we're adding another huge service to the city. And we shouldn't be doing that outside of budget time unless we have the resources to pay for it. So those are my thoughts. So I will probably vote in favor of this motion, and hopefully at budget time bring it up again.
Thank you. Councillor Lennox Zapp?
Thank you. I wanted to thank Lance for the presentation, and it is appreciated when members of the public bring issues that are important to them, right, up to us and take the time to do that. And I have heard from many members of the public that the public is interested in chickens and eggs. And one great point that was raised is that our cost of living is really increasing, and this could really help citizens. I understand that there's at least one other person in the gallery today who wanted to come in support of having this move forward. I hope that we may consider not just receiving and filing this presentation, but I hope that we at least take the time to have the planning department review the issue and then give us some ideas on it. I think that is a really respectful way of handling the issue, is to get more information from the department and not just stop it in its tracks today with no further action. I did have a question for the Director of Planning. I recall that in my first term of office, we did have this issue that was discussed, and I was just wondering if the Director of Planning could advise on that. That I recall a proposed pilot project was proposed and it was not passed at that time. But can I just confirm if the pilot project was a permitting project where some people could have specific permits, so that the proposal wasn't to have anyone in the city be able to have chickens immediately, but that people could apply for a permit and show that they would, take good care of chickens and not have the pest issues. Is that correct?
Director?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Councilor Nixep, for the question. If I recall, we did not present the actual terms of a holistic pilot project, but rather just we sought your advice on whether or not you wanted us to develop one. And at that time, Council said no, essentially denied that request. But to your point, yes, what would have been considered is a pilot project to allow, let's say, 5 households to have up to 5 chickens or something like that. There is, at the time, we referred to St. Albert, Alberta. I believe they had a pilot project, and that's what we would have emulated it after, but we did not put a draft together at that time. We didn't move that far ahead.
Thank you very much. So just in closing, that is an option for those in the room who have the concerns about pests and bylaw. That might be something to think about, that maybe 5 permits with people who are demonstrating their responsibility is different than just a blanket approval. And that is something that St. Paul's, I think, did. So I would hope that we don't just receive and file. I think that will be very disappointing for many members of the public. And instead, just getting a report would not be going too far. Just one last question for the Director of Planning. Would you consider, if a report was passed today, I'm guessing it would not be too onerous on the department because you have a report from recent times, but would I be in the wrong saying that?
Director?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Councilor Nixep, for the question. If I provide you with information, I want to make sure it's up to date. So I would go back and essentially redo what I've already done and take another look at the communities that allow it, what the pilot program looked like. So I would not want to just bring you the same or even a similar report. I think I'd probably start from scratch and make sure I provide you with all up-to-date information.
That sounds great. And when I hear start from scratch, I think about chickens. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Head.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And thank you all for your comments. It is kind of interesting to hear some of the history here. And as Councillor Edwards said, maybe the timing was off in 2017. Maybe it's off today as well. But I do appreciate you bringing this forward. I mean, I did get contacted by some of the public today, who were interested to see what this would look like. I definitely think some more conversation could be had, because there's going to be so many rules if we do move forward to this, that it might not even be feasible to have these chickens in your backyard. So looking at some of the, what other municipalities are doing. But I would, listening to some of the residents today, I would want to hear more information on this, not to say that we're going to move forward today with it, but I would support a report coming forward and not just simply receiving a file because of some of the appetite from our residents to have this in our city. But I know there's been some challenges with beehives and and this motion was forward to this council previous and was denied. But yeah, I would like to see another report on this one. So that'd be my comments.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, and I will support the motion to be received and filed. There already is a file on report on hand that we can all access. The same concerns then are still valid. This did come forward twice, 2017 and just before the election in 2020. So I know the newer councillors didn't hear that history, but there is a file on this. We've seen the reports. There are concerns. I get it totally. The cost of living is out of hand, and certainly I can respect that request, no questions asked. But the concerns of the rodents and the messes and not being able to control it with bylaw is certainly my biggest concerns with moving forward. So I do support the motion up on the board.
Thank you. Councillor Kilmer.
Thank you, and thank you, Lance, for coming forward and bringing this item forward. I did read the 2017 report and have done some research into it myself, looking at St. Albert and what they did. And I am intrigued by what happened, particularly in St. Albert, where they did do the pilot project and currently passed the bylaw after spending a couple of years in a pilot project format. Many members of, not many, but some members of the public have sent me and I think others some information in favor of chickens and looking at it. So I won't be supporting this. I would like to see a little bit more information because as everything happens, things do change and we are in an environmental different stage in our lives. We're growing into it. So I won't be supporting this motion.
Thank you very much. Questions? No? Okay, we'll go to the vote.
May I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you. This question might be for the city clerk, but just wondering if we receive and file at this stage, can we still bring this item up for budget committee as Councillor Ogrodnik suggested?
City clerk.
I don't believe you, I mean, it would have to come in the form of another request, but not this particular request wouldn't go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll open the vote. Oh, I think, oh yeah, I got it. Councillor Lennox Epp.
Opposed.
Okay. It's defeated. 4-4 vote.
Tara Lennox up for a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to place the original motion, but adding the words for review and report at the end from the planning committee.
Like it was?
Or sorry, like it was, but it needs to, as long as it has the words review and report. Sorry, I meant to say planning department. And yeah, I'd be open to discussion if it should say for report to the budget committee, as Councillor Ogrodnik suggested. I'd be open to that, but I don't know if anyone else, if that sounds like something other members of council would want.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. Do I need a new? Thank you very much. I'll open the vote. Councillor Lennox Zepp.
In favor.
Thank you. Motion's defeated. Accept that.
Tara Lennox up for a motion.
Okay, go ahead. Try another one.
The same, yeah, the same motion, but for review and report to the budget committee, as that's what I think I heard was of interest.
Councillor Kilmer.
Thank you. I'm not really in favor of it going to discussion at the Budget Committee because there hasn't been enough information to really establish at that point, and it would take quite a bit of thought. I'm wondering if the mover would consider the correspondence be received and forwarded to the planning pack for discussion.
Yes.
Okay. So do you still want the review and report?
I think it would be fine to that this be forwarded to the Planning Advisory Committee
For
because
consideration?
I believe, yes. I think that would be fine unless I hear anyone say otherwise.
All right. Councillor O'Grotnick.
Yeah, my comments was about budget committee, like until we have a cost, we can't, like we need a cost associated. So now we're sending it to the planning advisory committee, or that's the suggestion. I don't know what that's going to accomplish, but we'll look at it.
Mayor Dion.
I don't support it. It's not up to the Planning Advisory Committee to make this decision. It's on the table. Let's make the decision. And that's what we're here for. You can argue that, and she put her light on, she's going to argue, well, that's what the committee's for. No, it isn't. Those committees have limited input from the public. Limited. And we're the representatives, the committee, we're the ones that take in the phone calls. So it should be decided at this table, not at someone at other table. So I won't be supporting this. It's just another way to try to move it forward.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. Councillor Kilmer.
Perhaps the thought isn't for consideration, but just for discussion to see what some citizens might think about it, you know, residents might think about the idea moving forward. I'm just looking for a solution.
Thank you. Councillor
As the
O'Grotnick.
mover,
Sorry.
Let her.
sorry, just as the mover, I'm fine with that wording from Councillor Kilmer for, you can take away the word consideration and it could be discussion as she described.
All right. Councillor O'Grotnick, did you're okay. Right? Yeah, another motion, please. All right. It's open. Councilor Lennox Zepp.
In favor.
Thank you. Okay, somebody didn't vote. Thank you. So it's defeated one more time, and so here we are.
Tara Lennox up for motion.
Okay, go ahead. Counselor Zepp.
That this, I would move that this be tabled to the next meeting of executive committee. So a motion to table to the next meeting of executive committee, and my purpose is perhaps we can obtain some of that information. Councillor Ogrodnik quite reasonably stated that we'd need to know about cost before thinking about it moving to budget.
So we can't table a motion that's already defeated? Or you can
This is-
postpone it?
this is- Oh, I would certainly. I would ask to postpone. I'm sorry that I'm asking to postpone this to the next meeting of executive committee.
So your motion is out of order?
Then I have a new. Then I would table another motion.
Okay. Go ahead.
That the correspondence be forwarded to the budget committee. I'm not seeking any report, just that this correspondence be forwarded to budget committee.
Discussion? Mayor Dion? Oh, nothing? Okay.
Just this
Councillor
motion.
Ogrodnik.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This motion doesn't make a lot of sense because there's no, to send it to budget, you have to have a cost associated with. We have no cost associated. So are we going to just talk about chickens at budget? That doesn't make sense in my opinion. There has to be a cost associated with every decision that we make at budget meeting. And so we should vote against this because it just doesn't make sense.
Thank you. Do you have it? Yes, we're ready. I'll open. Councillor Lennox Epp?
In favor.
Thank you. Close. Accept the vote. Motion defeated.
I table a further motion. I would move that that the issue of chickens be placed on the agenda for any upcoming community meetings.
So we're not going to have any information for the public unless it goes to the planning committee or to the director and to get a report and a review, and we're not going to do that either. So what would you like to bring up at a community meeting?
That it just be an agenda item at the community meeting, and you're right, we would not be providing the public any report. We would just be obtaining information and feedback from the public.
Mayor Dion.
Well, I don't know if I want to speak again. How many more motions are we going to do? You know, let's be respectful to everybody else in this room. We've got an agenda, and let's move on to the next item. We're not going to win. We're at a tie, so let's move on. We're starting to look silly here. It looks like we're a kid in a candy, and we didn't get our candy, so we're going to kick and shout till we get what we want. And I object to that, so.
Thank you, Mayor Dion. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I highly recommend Councillor Lennox Epp hosts her own community meeting and makes her own agenda and talks about chickens at that community meeting that she will plan to host.
Thank you. All right.
May I close?
Sure, go ahead.
I am hopeful that we vote in favor of this motion. This would simply be an opportunity where we could obtain feedback from the public to hear about what the public believe on this very topic. If we are open to hearing that feedback, then there's no financial cost to having this as an agenda item to hear more from the public. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it. I'll open. Councillor Lennox up.
In favor.
Thank you. Defeated? Accepted? All right. Okay, we're going to the consent agenda. Would anybody like to pull any item? No? That's good, thank you. Just kidding. Councillor Cody?
I'll move the consent agenda.
Thank you very much. I got my wish. I'll open. Councillor Lennox Zapp, please.
In favor.
Thank you. Close, accepted. Oh, somebody didn't vote. Oh, Mayor's gone. All right. What? I didn't vote. How is that even possible? Anyways, okay, we're gonna go to reports of administration and committees, the police substation parking. A verbal presentation from Evan Hastings from Transportation Traffic Manager. Podium's on, go ahead.
All right, good morning, or good afternoon, everyone.
Just about there, yep.
This report is to review the request made by the Prince Albert Police Service for the removal of 5 existing parking meters to allow for 9 additional police parking only stalls behind the Prince Albert Police Substation, which is located on the unit block of 10th Street East. The Prince Albert Police Substation opened on November 19th, 2019. At this time, 39 total stalls were designated as police parking only, including 32 in a gated compound. These stalls are used for staff members' personal vehicles and police fleet vehicles. The building provides numerous training facilities, including a gym, which have become increasingly utilized since COVID-19 restrictions were lifted earlier last year. The substation now hosts over 40 staff members and 23 fleet vehicles for regular operation, which has led to parking shortages. The 5 meters that are proposed to be removed have earned $593.30 cumulatively over the past 5 years, which is equivalent to 11 hours of public parking per stall per year. So the impact to public parking, if these meters are removed, is fairly minimal. Police parking only signage to complete the parking stall conversion would cost approximately $250 for fabrication and installation. So to conclude, in order to provide adequate parking facilities for the Prince Albert Police Substation, the recommendation is that the 5 paid meters be removed and designated as police parking only. Thank you, and I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Head.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I don't have a question. Thanks for the report, Devin. I'm going to go ahead and move this motion.
Thank you very much. Mayor Dion.
The cost will be burdened by the police? Is that what you said, or you just said the cost?
No, that would just be through the sign shop. Traffic signage budget.
Okay, well, I have no issue with the 5 stalls, but if we make a resident put a handicap stall in front of their house, we charge them $250. So I believe that this shouldn't come out of our budget. The police have a good budget, and I believe it should come out of their budget. So do you need me to add that there, or do you just?
Yes, Mayor Dion. Councillor Head.
Thank you. That's a great point by the mayor. I'm going to go ahead and add that the cost be by
Thank
the
you.
police.
Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I disagree that that was a great point. The police budget is 89% wages. There was a number of years ago that we struggled putting a toilet in. They don't need any additional $500 here and there, period. I don't agree with that. I won't support that motion. The meters are minimal. It costs more to have one of our people go check those meters than it does to talk about that $500. So I won't support it with it going back to the police board. Not a chance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
If I may add, we
Sure.
do have 2 signs already made up for this that have been made in previous years, so there really wouldn't be any additional funding. They would just be as stock right now.
Thank you very much. Councillor Head,
So that number 2 is a moot point then, it's hearing from the director here, so we can go ahead and remove that then.
sure.
These signs they were made over 3 years ago, so they're made up, they're ready to go.
Oh, boy. Tough crowd today, I'll tell you. Let me tell you. It is sunny day out, so we're gonna go to the vote, and I'm gonna open it. Councillor Lennox Epp.
In favor.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to beautification report, a verbal presentation from Tim Yeamans, the park manager, and open spaces. Go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, Mayor and Council. So you have 3 recommendations before you tonight. And I just would like to give you a brief update just on beautification. So in 2023, during budget deliberations, Council had approved within our operating budget $75,800. And that was to be put towards beautification initiatives. And some of the things that we'll continue to focus in on again this year, grass cutting, so making sure that we're getting to those key areas, areas along the highways, the entry points, flowers. So flower planting will continue. We'll continue to partner with different facilities, their staff to help us get the flowers planted. One of the changes this year, though, would be to enter into an agreement with the Downtown Prince Albert development bid and to put in place an installation and maintenance agreement with them. And what this agreement simply does is outlines the responsibilities of the pad bid compared to the city. We recognize that we have some limited resources to be able to provide beautification services. And over the last few years, we've looked to partner with individuals and organizations, and this is a perfect opportunity to do that. We have had lots of conversation with the executive from the Downtown Pad Bid, and they're completely in favor and supportive of this agreement that we put in place. And it would just allow us to be able to operate with some clear decision-making moving forward and making sure that we're providing the services that we need to, but the Downtown Pad Bid Association is able to provide the services that they're looking to provide. So towards flower planting this year, we've allocated 15,000 of that 75,000. We control management, so we're into our 3rd year of the rental of the foam stream system. The plan is to have a student on this system from May through to September this year to ensure that we're getting to those high visibility locations like downtown, on the city medians, coming into the city along the bridge fronts, those type of things. So we've allocated 12,600 towards that. By the end of the 4th year, we will own the piece of equipment, so we'll be the cities to do with and utilize moving forward. Infrastructure maintenance, so additional street sweeping efforts. So it was good to see this morning coming to work that the downtown had already been, street sweeping efforts had already begun. It's great to drive across the bridge today, Diefenbaker Bridge, and see that there were crews actually working on cleaning up the bridge as well. So I think we're a little bit early in our efforts this year compared to last year, so we're getting a good head start on things, which is great to see. So that cost is normally covered under the Ministry of Highways Urban Connector Program, so there is no cost to the city for that. Graffiti removal efforts, so we continue with that effort. This year, there is noticeable graffiti that we're trying to get to. So there's two facets of this. So there's the commercial efforts. That's where we work with a local contractor to try and remove as much graffiti off of business buildings, light standards, mailboxes, SAS power boxes. The sooner we can get it off, the less chance we have of them putting it back on. We also have the residential program, so that's the anti-graffiti paint program. So that's already begun for this year. We've had a number of applicants that have already applied to that program to get the graffiti off their fences, their garages. So I just want to bring to council's attention that since we started tracking this back in 2021, total expenditures on graffiti removal were just under $25,000. In 2022, total expenditures on graffiti removal were $41,000. So there's a huge spike. And what we're seeing is a trend from year to year. It seems to go in cycles. One year it's not so bad, the next year it continues to increase. So we want to be mindful of that. So we've taken $30,000 of that committed dollars and actually put that towards the graffiti removal program. And then also looking at tree and shrub planting partnership opportunities. So working with the PA Model Forest, Peter Hedrick, and working on opportunities to look for planting locations. Most of these would be along the riverbank to help us secure the riverbank. We've got slumpage in some areas. We're going to lose some areas again this year, possibly some sections of trail over in the west. So we want to be mindful of that. And so we're working to partner with them again this year to do some community planting projects. And we've committed $12,000 of that total operating dollars towards that. And then refresher of landscaping around the Art Center and City Hall in conjunction with the new Legion War memorials that will be installed June 11th of this year. So I don't think the landscaping will be done, but our parks crews will be taking a big undertaking to clean up the Memorial Square, pressure wash down the outside of the building. You'll see a lot of efflorescence that's built up on the walls. We certainly want to present Memorial Square as best as we can. We know we have some infrastructure that's beginning to fall apart out there. So we'll do what we can this year to make sure we clean it up and make sure that it looks good. So that's going to involve taking out the shrubs along the south side of the Art Center, also cleaning up on the west side of the Art Center as well. We had a fire out on the south side of the City Hall here last year. So we're going to strip all of those shrubs. They're in decline. So we think that the best thing to do is go with a simple maintenance plan. We'll get that all cleaned up. We're probably going to turn it back to, we'll put a few decorative Carl Forster reed grass along the building, but the majority of it will be turned back to sod, right, to maintain it on a regular basis and keep up the appearance. So we've committed $25,000 of that. So out of that total $75,800, we've committed $64,600. We've left a contingency because we know we'll always have additional projects throughout the year. So we've kept back $11,200 of that to be used at the department's discretion or council's discretion if there's something that comes up that requires further attention. I also just wanted to point out to council that we have lots to be proud of within our city. When we talk about beautification, we have lots of brand new development. We've had lots of great developments in the past, and that beautification is a bigger topic of conversation than simply community services taking on the role and doing as much as we can in partnership with Public Works. We believe that somewhere down the road there is a requirement to look at maybe possibly a strategic plan that would help us identify what beautification involves and to put together some strategic planning to help us determine year to year what type of budgeted dollars we would require. Similar to what we're doing out at Little Red with the 5 stages of development, it's helped City Council to get a vision of what we're doing and to help us to look at committed dollars towards that venture out there. I think it would bode well for Council to possibly consider that strategy moving forward with beautification and with maybe bringing it forth during the budget committee for 2024. At this time, that's the end of my presentation, but if there's any questions, I can certainly answer those for you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll move the recommendation, and Tim, thank you for your report. Couple comments about your report. I find it alarming, the amount of money that we have to spend on graffiti removal. It doesn't seem like in a big budget, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it is a lot of money when we're looking at going from 25 to 41,000 a year just for removal. That is concerning. Positives of your report is the partnership, as you said, with the downtown pad bid and for the boxes. And I know they have also partnered with horticulture class at St. Mary, that they're actually growing the plants, a lot of the plants, and a lot of the plants in the downtown will be edible as well as just regular plants, no poisonous plants, of course, but it will be edible plants in those containers as well. So that's quite a good initiative, I think. And then I like what you said about strat planning or strategic plan or a report looking at moving forward about beautification of the city, and how can we, or what are our priorities, and then how can we fund those things. So I think that's smart planning on your part, and if the city adopts it, city council adopts it, it'll be smart planning, and we could then look at what do we need to continue the great work that's already being done. So thank you. Those are just my comments. I don't have a question.
Thank you very much. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Two things, Tim. The foam stream, I think it's called, underneath the bleachers of the sporting facilities would be a great place for that. It's hard to whippersnip in there, and we always see it overgrown. Number two, as what Councillor Ogrodnik said, the graffiti. What happens when we catch the people that have done the graffiti? Can the city make them clean it? Do we have any legal rights to bring that forward? Maybe a nice wire brush and a little muscle behind it would be great to see, because this is a gross amount of money. And it is disturbing that $40,000+ goes to remove graffiti in our city. That's ridiculous. And it's likely the same people over and over and over again. Do we have any recourse?
I think the downside to it is the graffiti that is taking place is usually tagging that's taking place late in the evening when people aren't up and noticing. I guess I kind of look at it twofold. It's concerning that we're spending that type of money, but I also take a look at where we started 4 years ago and the type of tagging that was taking place, and we weren't quick enough to remove it, and the comments from the public, comments from council about their concerns. Yeah. So we changed that process. So what I've been seeing is a decline on the amount of concerns that have been coming forward, because we are getting to it quicker. So I think that's a positive we can take away from this. And I'm not sure if there's much we can do about the graffiti tagging. We certainly try and watch video footage, but we're really limited in our resources to be able to, in those high-profile locations, like if we get a park that's tagged like Alfred Jenkins Fieldhouse, right? There are some concerns with that end of things.
I can certainly appreciate that we have to get that removed, and we have to remove it quickly, and the cost is there. I get that, but I sure wish there was some recourse on some of the people that may be found. So that's just my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ogrodnik.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just one more comment I wanted to make, that about the Community Service Advisory Committee. This is on their work plan, so this was part of the discussion. Mayor Dion, I'll direct that to you. And the Community Service Advisory Committee was very enthusiastic about beautification of the city. They had a lot more ideas that why don't we do this, or can we do this, and a lot of really good ideas about beautification of the city. Especially the corridors coming into the city is where they were really focusing in on. So I'm sure we'll see more coming from the advisory committee that we approved and gave to them to deal with. So I just needed to add that. So there is a place for committees.
Thank you. Any more discussions? Okay, that was moved by Councillor Ogrotnik. Councillor Zepp, did you have anything?
Nothing further.
Okay, thank you. There we go. Okay, I'll open the vote. Councillor Zepp?
In favor.
Thank you. This is unanimous. Thank you, Tim. A Grand Slam ballpark rebuild update from Curtis Olson, Sports and Recreation Manager.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and City Council, for the opportunity to provide an update on the Grand Slam Park rebuild campaign as another baseball season upon us. Prince Albert Minded Baseball, for the past 2 years, I've been working on a sponsorship and other funding options to go towards the upgrading and creating of a baseball facility at Crescent Acres. This campaign to date has over 20 sponsors, and today we are seeing another four businesses coming on in support of this project. Not only has this been, there has been very generous support from our business community. Prince Albert Minor Baseball was just recently the recipient of the Great Cub Festival Legacy Program, in which they've received $10,000 to go towards a batting cage at Crescent Acres. Can't speak today. All this funding, has allowed the development of the Crescent Acres in becoming a baseball facility, and in reality, really meeting the needs of their 13U and 15U divisions. Where we at in terms of the phases, and in particular Phase 1, Diamond 2, now known as Lipchuk Field, has been converted into a regulation size 15U baseball field. The work here included the current fence being repositioned approximately by 25 feet, the infield being lengthened, and a permanent mound being built. Further work to Fountain Tire Field and Connell Lumber Field, converting these into 13U regulation fields, has also helped, which will help with tournaments. Basically what we had to do there is add permanent mounds, and you'll start to see work here this week on the completion of dugouts on those fields. So where we are, once again, we just got to complete the dugouts on Connell Lumber Field, along with, you'll see the completion of the batting cage over at, between Diamond 2 and 3, and that will help in the completion of Phase 1. What Phase 1 being completed will help us do, now it really gives us that 15U division field, a dedicated baseball field that meets baseball SAS requirements. Along with those other work on the other two fields, as I mentioned, you will start to see PA Minor Baseball hosting 13U and 15U regional tournaments this summer, along with them applying to host a 15U provincial tournament in July of 2023. With Phase 1 being completed, you'll start to see then PA Minor Baseball turn their focus immediately to Phase 2. This includes work to purchase and install score clocks and score booth on each of the diamonds, along with the installation of Lou Hobson Wall of Honor. I can say too, in terms of the score clocks, PA Minor Baseball is just waiting on a grant they have applied for, and hopefully we're looking for a favorable decision on that. So with this, once again, I think it's a very positive project in our community. Prince Albert Minor Baseball, I give lots of kudos to them for the great work they've did. And so once again, we'll start use those diamonds here maybe or probably as early as tonight. You might see people out there or teams out there. And once again, we'll continue to update City Council on the progress of the Grand Slam Ball Park campaign and the phases as they move along.
Great, thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I will move the recommendation and just congratulate Minor Baseball on a great fundraising campaign. The diamonds are going to be awesome. The whole ballpark is great for the growth of the sport, and I believe that the registration is at an all-time high for baseball. So it's great to see that sport growing in our city, and very positive. It's good for the community over there, and it's good for the kids to play on proper fields. So thank you very much. And actually, they're being recognized this weekend in the Hall of Fame, Prince Albert Hall of Fame, so the Minor Baseball Association, so that's great news for them. Thank you.
Mayor Dion?
Yeah, and congratulations, because when you build it, here's a perfect example. Look what we did with softball. We built those diamonds, now we've got worlds, qualifiers, tournaments thing. And I do believe this will help bring baseball back to PA and to get things going. I do have a question, though. I do understand all the other two gifts in kind, but I don't understand the gifting. Are we building a sunroom? Like, there's a gift in kind from Canadian Factory Direct, sunrooms, 16,000 gift in kind. The fencing, I understand, the pumps, I understand. Do you know what that's for?
Yeah, so Direct Sunrooms will be doing the roofs for the dugouts on Econo Field.
Perfect. And I too want to just congratulate all the volunteers, because people don't realize it is volunteers that do work on this. And so just congratulations. I walk by it every day, and it's really starting to shape and looking good. So congratulations to our staff too, who's also working on it, but also to the organizations.
Thank you. Councilor Grotnick?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you for your report. I just have one question. In the report, you have the costs of Phase 2 and costs of Phase 3. What was phase of cost 1? What did the entire amount come to? Do you remember? I don't remember.
I don't have that.
How much?
Sorry, Jody? About 20,000. 200,000, sorry.
200,000? Okay, thank
Phase
you.
one, sorry. Yes.
No, and I'm not questioning the amount spent. It's because it's a great project, and as everybody said, it just enhances our city. When we add recreational facilities or any kind of facilities or any kind of programs, it enhances our city, and so it's money well spent, and I totally support it. I just need to know it, and I think as Councillor Edwards said, is we need to be proud of that, and we need to brag about these kinds of things that we do. So.
Thank you. Right. Go to the vote. All open. Councillor Lennox Epp?
In favor.
Thank you. We'll close and accept it. Passes. Assessment consultant services. Vanessa?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and members of council. I'm here today as we are in our preparation for the 2025 reval. Our work starts here in 2023, and we are looking for additional help to get our work done. Every year, we have appeals that come through to our office, and that appeal work can impact our work plan. And this has been the case when we received an SMB decision in January of this year. We have lost the ability to use one of our employees to help for the development of the income approach for commercial properties for 2025 due to work needing to be done to address commercial property assessments for 2024. So I did some looking into the availability, and I reached out to the one and only consultant that we have right now in Saskatchewan that does assessment work. And so we're looking at wanting to move the commercial assessments from the cost approach that is currently how they're being valued to the income approach for the 2025 reval. What comes with that is from 2009, we were starting to collect income expense information from commercial property owners. And the income and the forms that we received back for 2019, 2021, and now for 2022 that we will get back have to be reviewed and all analyzed. And this is a very time-consuming process, and so we need to get this work, we need it to start getting going. With the availability of our new software system, we can implement the income approach. It has the module and the ability for us to do this valuation method as we move the multi-res properties to the income approach in the 2021 reval here. So we're looking to hire TJ Ewert Professional Services to help with the implementation of the income approach. As I indicated, I have limited staff availability. My commercial appraiser is going to be working on the matters to deal with that 2022 SMB decision. And I'm unable to complete the work myself as I still have 3 newer staff to mentor as well and make sure their work also progresses and reviewing their work as well. Because it is a complicated process and time-consuming process, I have limited staff knowledge of how to do the income approach. And we have limited time to get our work done. We have to deliver preliminary values to the provincial government on April 1 of 2024, so all of our modeling has to be completed by then. So the whole proposal from the consultant was for $73,750. Now this is over 2023 and for 2024. So any costs that would be involved for 2024 would come through in the budget. So we are seeking about $40,000 for the remainder of this year that would be paid out of the savings and financial services salaries. This individual that we would be hiring had previous assessment experience from SAM and the City of Regina and is very, very familiar with the income approach. So I have great confidence in the individual in working with him. It would be done in consultation with me and under my supervision, and I would be doing some of the work myself as well that I can fit in amongst all the other programs that we have going in our work right now. That is all I have, if there's any questions.
Mayor Dion.
I'll move the recommendations, but I might change one because I have a question.
Okay.
Is $40,000 enough? There's a lot of work to be done. You know, we did have great savings with our restructuring. I don't want to waste it, but at the same time, your department is heavily worked. And is $40,000 enough?
For this year, I do estimate that it will be enough in my conversations with him. 40,000 should cover, because the whole amount is for doing half of the analysis and then working with me on the modeling. A lot of the modeling will only happen in the early months next year. So it's just the analysis of all the forms we get back that we'll be really working on and focusing this year.
Okay, you're the only person in the department that has turned down a chance at a gift. So thank you for that, for being honest, and I have no problem moving this.
Councillor Head.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And thank you, Vanessa, for the report. Definitely, it's important that, you know, we address some of the new model moving towards the income approach. And I know it's a lot of work, you know, being in this chair for the last couple of years and hearing some of the reval struggles we have. So it's not surprising that we're going to see this. But I guess the question is, once we do hire this consultant and we go through this process, we'll be in a better position for the next reval with a trained staff. So it'll be a one-time cost is what I'm asking.
Yes, that is correct. When I previously worked at SAM, I was a part of implementing the income approach for the city of Weyburn, and the first cycle and the first implementation is the most time-consuming process, and then you build on your models after that. So there's an education, there'll be probably a part of the costs that will increase for 2024 in budget, because I still have to talk to the individual, as we want to do more of an education. Once the modeling is done, we want to do some education with the current staff we have, so that everybody is learning and everybody is knowledgeable of this approach to put us in a better position. I may also, in 2025, look at using his resources as well to help with the appeals, because there can tend to be appeals on the income approach in the first year of the valuation, but we want to do a lot of communication and education with the public on that method evaluation before the 2025 reval happens as well.
Thank you for the response, and I appreciate the work you're doing for sure. I'll be supporting this motion.
Thank you. More questions? Oops. Go to the vote, and I'll open it. Councillor Lennox Epp.
In favor.
Thank you. Close and accept it. Okay. A review and regulations from the communication towers. Verbal presentation from the Director of Planning and Development, Craig. Go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, members of council, for the opportunity. You'll recall a couple of months ago, we were approached by SaskTel, providing you with some information on communications towers. The purpose of this report is to serve as an update for you and with our intentions of moving forward. We're not requesting any formal approval or permits per se, but rather to bring you in the loop of what our potential processes would be. As you know, SaskTel, or as you've been told, SaskTel is pursuing some major system upgrades in their cellular network and require upgrading some existing towers throughout our community and also in establishing and installing some new ones. Radio communication and broadcasting services are very important for our citizens and for our residents and do require some communication towers and radio antennas. Now, when dealing with SaskPower, we do have some flexibility on where these antennas and communication towers can be located. However, as you know, with gaps in service, you know, we are somewhat constrained on where those locations are. When it comes to approving authority for these types of communication towers, they actually are approved federally under the Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada. So they are under formal federal jurisdiction. I did not want to place them in our zoning bylaw as falling within City Council's jurisdiction because ultimately that final say does fall with federal, right? And that is that acronym being ISED. However, what we will be doing is working very closely with SaskTel because they are willing to work with us as city planners to make sure we minimize the impact of these types of communication towers. They have a very robust public notification policy where they determine or they do a mail out to everyone within a certain diameter or radius of the communication tower. They ask for feedback. They give approximately 30 days to get that feedback and then up to 60 days to respond and ultimately work with us as city planners to make sure again that we minimize that impact. So again, their communication strategy is above and beyond what we require. And they also request from the approving authority or from the jurisdiction of the City of Prince Albert our support, our concurrence, not necessarily approval, but just our concurrence and support with these communication towers. So over the next several months, we'll be working with SaskTel to determine where these gaps in coverage are, locating these SaskTel towers in locations that disturb the adjacent neighborhoods as much as we possibly can, and also responding to the feedback that we receive from some residents. So this report is to serve as a follow-up to that previous one. We've got members of SaskTel's management team here today who can ask or answer any technical questions that you might have. Otherwise, I'm pleased to answer any follow-up questions as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thank you. Mayor Dion.
I'll move the recommendation, and my comment is I am very pleased that we're moving forward, and I'm glad that we're upgrading towers. We're the third largest city, and we should have cell phone coverage and data all throughout our city, and that's why they're upgrading. You know, that the new systems are up. They need more height, and they need more bandwidth and everything, so they need more towers. And I know some areas, people aren't going to like it, but at the end of the day, for the overall good of the city, we have to put them up because at the end of the day, it's our number one way to communicate. If our cell phones go down, look out. It's called, we're going to fire up the fire alarms. That's how bad it is. That when we don't have our cell phones, look out. And so there's a give and take on both sides, and I'm glad you're working with them because I support the installation of new towers strictly because I want to be able to communicate wherever I'm in the city. And thanks, SaskTel, for the investment. That's the other thing. SaskTel is putting a big investment into this system province-wide, and because it's a crown, here we go, Don, because it's a crown, that's one of the reasons that these remote areas have communications because we share equally and we sacrifice equally. So thank you, SaskTel, and go to town.
Councillor Cody.
Yeah, thank you very much, Greg, and I'm very, very much in favor of what they're doing. I took the opportunity on Friday to go out with Jeff McKean, and we looked at every one of the locations that they're contemplating. And of course, there's possible movement around, but I'll tell you, they've done a very good job. They've looked at every opportunity they have to put it on places where it's not going to interfere with the public and the like. They've got it in parks and they've got it in places where it's just not going to interfere. So I was very pleased with the opportunity that I had to go with Jeff, because it was, it's important to know exactly where these things are going, and it's important to know that we're upgrading. That's excellent. I know I have I've got quite a soft spot in my ward up on the hill around Adanac Point and over by that area, and this will certainly make a big difference. And I think it'll make a big difference everywhere, because upgrading to the 5G, of course, is the new technology, which is great. And I thank you very much, guys. That's excellent work that you're doing, and keep up the good work, because we want to make sure these crowns remain crowns, not in some obscure hands.
Thank you. I don't know why it's doing this.
Tara Lennox up for the queue.
Okay, Councillor Head.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, thanks for my colleagues for their comments. I appreciate that. I do feel the same as well. It's a great benefit to our community to have some, improved coverage, I will say. Just a question of curiosity, will there be any disruptions of service, and or will there be, Councillor Cody mentioned about the locations. Looking at the report, it doesn't really say a whole lot of these placements. Could you speak to some of the locations and or if there's any disruptions?
Director.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Actually, for that question, if I wouldn't mind referring that to a member of the SaskTel team, Jessica or Brendan, and I think there's one of three that'll be able to answer that for you better than I.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys, your patience in our gallery too. So.
Hi, thanks everyone. So there will be some outages when we do have to take the tower down. We try and minimize that. We try and make it so the outages are short, but you may receive reduced capacity. So your data speeds may be a little slower for a week, but as far as like voice services, 911, we try and reduce that to half a day to a day at most, right? So as far as locations, the northeast, southeast corners of the city are very poor to us. We've identified that for years. This is a great opportunity for us to improve that. We also have to increase the height on quite a few towers. So we have a lot of streetlight poles in the city, which with our new network and 5G, they just don't work anymore, essentially. They're too small. We can't support enough antennas on them. So we need to rebuild those sites in different locations and generally at a higher height, so.
Okay. Well, that answers my question. Thank you for that.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you. More questions? No? Oh, Councillor Lennox.
Tara Lennox up.
Yep.
Thank you. Question for the director. Can you just remind me if any of the locations of placement are within any of our parks?
Director.
Thank you, Councillor Zepp, for the question. To Councillor Cody's point, I believe there are some potential locations. They haven't been formally, we haven't been formally notified of where those locations might be. I think parks are certainly within their consideration, but whether they've been finalized, I don't believe that's the case. But again, SaskTel may be able to answer that better than me.
Hi. So I can tell you that some of the proposed locations that we looked at initially are in parks. However, until this motion moves forward and we can actually build in parks, we haven't finalized anything yet and brought these locations forward to planning.
And may I ask, when this matter comes forward to the full city council meeting, do we expect to know the locations at that point?
So we'll be working with planning and they will know all the locations, yes. And I believe I don't know, Greg, how it is going to, will it come forward then?
Yeah, to elaborate through the chair, if I may, since this is just a receive and file report for information, there's no city council requirement for approval. However, through SaskTel's notification process, that will be forwarded to myself for consideration and to get that general support.
And then does council become advised of the locations?
Yes, you will.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Right. Questions? I'll open the vote. Councillor Lennox up.
In favor.
Thank you. Close and accept. Passes unanimously. 2023 community meeting, a verbal presentation from Callie Bear, Director of Community Services, or sorry, Corporate Services. Same thing.
Okay, good evening, Executive Committee. I'm here tonight to talk to you about a proposed community meeting for 2023. So these meetings, these types of meetings kind of evolved from dating back to 2014 when we had, I think we called them neighborhood meetings back then, and we held them in each of the 8 wards of the city. Back then, it was a little bit more of a listening exercise. We had quite a turnout, and people just shared feedback with the city, and we kind of responded to a number of things that had come out of those meetings. And then into 2018, we held 4 meetings, and by 2018, attendance was lowering at some of these meetings, and so then by 2019, we had approved, a motion was approved to have 2 meetings a year rotating in each of the wards. So in 2019, we held one in Ward, I believe, 3 and 8. The format was a little bit different. It wasn't just a listening sort of exercise where administration stood at the front and people had the microphone. We set up stations based on topics. There was a short presentation at some of these meetings, and there was a bit of a come and go format where residents were able to interact with members of administration. These were successful meetings, good attendance, good discussion. Then in 2020 with COVID, so for the next 3 years, they were put on hold. And so we haven't held one in 3 years. So, these meetings have always been valued by council, I understand, and by administration. They're a good opportunity to get in front of the public and hear from them directly, kind of have that one-on-one dialogue between administration and the public. And so what we're proposing for this year is to bring back the meetings. We're suggesting a single large format meeting at the Chess Leach Lounge at the Art Hauser Center. And this is rather than selecting 2 wards, just because we've had such a long break. I think there will be pretty good attendance at one of these meetings, so a bigger space is good. It's also an opportunity for all wards to attend in one meeting. And it's just that opportunity for everybody to reconnect after such a long break from these kinds of meetings. So what the format will be, we'll maybe have a short presentation at the outset. Again, it'll be a little bit more come and go with some booths set up by topic. I've outlined some in the report, just areas of interest for the community. And then we often also have a table set up for reported concerns, so some of the day-to-day things that come up. Residents, if they're there to talk about a particular thing that can be addressed through a work order form, we would do through the website there. And then, of course, question and answer. So if approved tonight, we would choose a date. I'm proposing a day in June on a Tuesday or Wednesday evening. As far as I understand, at the writing of this report, those evenings were available except for June 13th. All the other dates were available. We'll advertise through the back of the water bills and our other kind of typical advertising methods, social media, media release, etc. So yeah, that concludes that. I guess if you have any questions.
Councillor Edwards.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So I might have said this in the report. My apologies if it did. The plan for 2024 is to do what?
So 2024, the original motion was to skip election years, just because it's hard to choose which ward gets the community coming together. So I think we would either do this similar thing for 2024, one large format, and then in the new election cycle, start fresh with 2 every rotating through the 4 years.
So then if that's the pattern and you skip the 4th year of the term, then a couple of wards won't see those meetings during that entire term,
If that's the math, how that works out, yeah, I
right?
suppose
So
so, yeah.
you'll have 6 wards covered in each term.
Right.
And so that's not great. So we need a new plan of some sort for that, whether it's 3 or 1 year, and, well, 3 and 2 years, I guess, and 2 and whatever the math might be. We need a new plan for that. Thank you.
Mayor Dion?
Now, we might want to reconsider election year now that the government has also put us at Christmas. We could have it in June again and really not affect the election because we'd still be 7 months away. So that's a possibility to consider too, because I do like the idea of 2 a year. And if you have them in June and elections in November, I can't really see that affecting it. Just a thought.
Councillor Head.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm going to go ahead and move this motion. I think this is a great idea, and I guess where we land moving forward, we'll have some further conversations about that. But you know, in a general format like this, I think it's a great idea. I like to see some of our services highlighted, and I'm pretty sure the residents would appreciate that. So I'm totally in favor of this, and I assume the rest of us in this room are as well.
Thank you. Right.
Not booked formally in June. Don't like it.
We'll open the vote. Councillor Zepp.
In favor.
Thank you. Zepp. Passes. Any unfinished business? No? Okay. Councillor Kilmer.
I move to adjourn.
Thanks a lot. Councillor Zepp.
In favor.
Thank you.
Can I ask what time you want us back?
A little after 6, Councillor.
Thank you.
Thank you.